what's up? It's Breyonna. So Anastasia Beverly Hills just launched a brand new Primrose palette for fall, and let me tell you, like, this palette is just perfect for this time of year. I mean, look at this color story. Like it's so warm and smoky, and also the shimmers in here are super sparkly. But what makes this palette different than their other palettes is that it contains 2 blushes in here, which I am really curious about. I personally really like ABH blushes. Like, they're one of my favorite formulas. So I'm curious to see if this is going to be very similar to like their blush trios that they had, or like what they're going to be formulated like. One thing I will note though is that if you're like me and you have a lot of ABH palettes, the pan sizes of this palette are a lot bigger than their other palettes. Like, you get a lot of bang for your buck with this one. And the packaging, it's kind of like a blush pink kind of color, and then it has like a quilted texture. It's not a fabric palette, it is a cardboard one, but it has a really cool kind of like feel to it. And then it also has rose gold foil detailing. I really want to try these smokier purples in this palette, so the first shade I want to go in with is Primrose, and this is a matte with shimmer in it, and it's kind of like the more like purpley shade in the palette too. And I'm just going to be taking it on this ABH A25 brush, and first popping it in my crease. Ooh, that is pigmented right away. Man, I really like that color. And again, I am just blending it upwards towards my brow. I am going to go in with a little bit more on my brush. Ooh. So it is a little bit more on the buildable side too. Shimmer-wise though, once applied, I don't see the little flecks. And in the pan, it's kind of like a purpley, kind of like rosy grayish kind of color. And the shimmer in it is kind of like a lighter, more like rosy pink. Like, it's not like a bright pink either. Very subtle. I'm just gonna go in with a little bit more on my brush. But yeah, like the first shade is super pigmented, but if you want it to be a little bit richer, I would definitely do 2 to 3 layers. Like, I don't feel like you would need to build this one up if you want to look like it does in the pan, but I really like the smokiness that it gives you once you do. Very beautiful color. And you can see for this kind of shade too, it is super nice and smooth. Like, there is absolutely no harsh lines to this one. So when I was originally planning out this look, I was going to go in with Claret next, but I feel like I have the same depth right now with this shade built up as Claret, so I'm just going to go in with the next one instead, which is the darkest shade in the palette, and this one's called Deep Berry. I gotta be honest, I was not expecting Primrose to get this deep and rich. And also, one thing I will note though is in the pan, it does look a little bit more purple than when applied. Like, I don't know if you can see it or not, but like in the pan it has like this grayish purple kind of look to it, but when applied it has more of like, I don't know how to explain it, more of like a mauve-y kind of look to it. Like, it has more pink when applied. But I'm just going to be going in with Deep Berry on this Morphe M507 brush. It's just a small little blending brush. And again, I'm just going to be popping this right in that crease for more definition. Ooh, I like this color. I'm gonna go in with a second layer. Oh yeah, this one is one of those buildable deeper colors, which I personally prefer because it just makes it so much easier to work with. And also, if you want just like a little bit of depth, it'll be able to give you that without being like too much. Dang, this is a pretty color. Kind of reminds me of that one deeper purple in the Norvina Volume 5 palette. And I'm just going to take a little bit more and pack it on the outer V. Like, don't get me wrong, like, this shade's very pigmented, but I would say you need about 2-ish layers, which I don't think is bad at all. So I just cut my crease off camera, but now let's get rid of that like chunky situation right here. That is not looking cute. So I'm just going to go in with a little bit more of Deep Berry on this Anastasia A3. It's just like a little shader brush. It's a little bit on the fluffy side too. Oh, I need a little bit more on my brush. I forgot to dip in. But I'm just pressing it right on that edge. I'm not swiping. Just making sure that I'm pushing the pigment in. So now let's start working on the lid, and I gotta say, I'm just so excited to use the shimmers in here because like in person, they just have so much dimension to them. Like, I don't know if my camera is doing this palette justice or not, but like in person, they are just like super, super sparkly. But the first shade I want to go in with is this more like orangey shade. And it's also, I guess I would say, the deepest shimmer shade in the palette, and it's called Fire Opal. I don't know if you can see or not, but Winnie like stepped on this palette. You can kind of see her little like footprint right here. I don't know if you guys have pets, but like Winnie, she's the type of cat that has to do everything that I'm doing. Like, she has to be like all up into it. Right now she's sleeping over by my desktop, but normally wherever I am, she is. Like, she always has to just be like right next to me. Ooh, this shade feels like really, really creamy in the pan. But I'm just gonna be taking a dry on this little shader brush. Damn. Ooh, that is sparkly. Now, I will warn you, this shade does have some fallout to it. So this is actually one of those palettes I'd say is an eyes before your face kind, unless you use the mattes. Like, the mattes in here don't have a lot of fallout, like just a little bit, but that could just be the brush I was using. But this shimmer, like, I can feel it going down, and you can see it right here. Which, I mean, doesn't bother me personally, because I always do my eyes first. But man, I really like that shade next to the purple. I wasn't sure if I would like it or not, but I still wanted to try it. But I'm so happy that I took the risk. You can just see it has a lot of dimension to it. It's a very beautiful color. Keep in mind, I applied it dry too, and it's just, it has like this buttery texture to it. Just a lot of shine. So for the rest of the lid, I'm just going to be going in with this pinky shade called Peony, just to play up like the pinky purples that we have going on in the crease. I don't know, I just think they're going to look really pretty next to each other. But I'm just going to be taking it again on a different little shader brush. I'm just going to be popping it on the rest of the lid, anywhere that base is still showing. And I'm also applying it dry. Okay, to me this one isn't as shimmery as Fire Opal. Like, it's more of like a wearable shimmer. But let's see if the second layer is a little bit different. Yeah, like, it's shimmery, it just has like that wearable, like, wet sheen kind of vibe to it, and it's not like super like extra and super sparkly. Again, it's very pretty. It's just, I wish I had a little bit more of like that glam factor to it. I really like this shade next to Fire Opal because it's kind of like a pink that has just a slight amount of orange to it, so it really pairs well next to it. So I just did my complexion off camera. I did do blush though, because we're going to be using the blush out of the palette here in a minute, but let's do the lower lash line first. And I'm first just going to go in with that really dark shade called Deep Berry. I'm just going to pop it as close as I can to where my lashes grow out. I'm just taking it on this ColourPop E29. It's a really small little flat shader brush. And it's slightly fluffy too. It's really good for the lower lash line. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of Primrose on this brush from Profusion. It's an ES6. It's just a small little like point and blending brush. And I'm just going to smoke this downward. So to finish up the eyes, I'm just going to go in with the Rosewater shade for the inner corner. And I will say this one might be a little too deep for my skin tone. Like, in the pan, it looks like something that's kind of like borderline for me. But again, like, I am like as pale as paper. Ooh, that is sparkly. Well, I really like this shade. It's a little bit deeper than I would normally go for my inner corner, but again, like next to that peony shade, it's a vibe. So to finish the look off, I'm just going to be going in with the blush in the palette called Grapefruit, and this is the lightest shade. And I don't think I am able to wear saddle with my skin tone, like it just looks a little bit too deep. Even as a bronzer, I don't think I could wear it. So we're just going to be going in with this one instead. Ooh, she's pigmented. This blush formula really reminds me of the blush trios that they have. Not the blush trios, but the like newest launch that they have with the face palette. It has a bronzer, a blush, and a highlight in it. It reminds me of the formula of that blush, because that one's really, really pigmented too. But dang, like that is one dip too. I will warn you, I feel like this blush kind of applies a little bit deeper than it looks like in the pan. And keep in mind though, I am extremely fair, but you can kind of see it looks just a little bit deeper. And also, it's not really a buildable formula. It's like just super pigmented. So I'm just going to take my sponge that I apply my face powder with and lightly kiss the edge of the blush just to kind of like tone down the edges a little bit, because you can kind of see it. It's just a little bit too poppin' for my skin tone. And this will kind of like tame it down. But I actually really like that color. Especially with the lid, I feel like it just really kind of like pairs well together. And it kind of like ties everything together too. And I will say I do really like that there is a blush in here. I feel like it makes it more of like an all-in-one experience. The only thing is that when you do have like complexion products with eyeshadows, you know, depending on your skin tone, you might not be able to wear them. You know, like me with this deeper shade in here, like this one's just way too dark for me, so I'm not going to be reaching for it. I might try it out as like an eyeshadow, but as a blush, I don't think I can wear it, especially with Grapefruit being this pigmented in this color. I gotta say, overall, I really like this palette. Like, I just think it is such a nice quality palette. Like, the mattes in here are just really pigmented. They're very easy to work with. Like, if you're a beginner, even the darkest shade in here will not give you any problems, because it's just like one of those formulas you pop down and do a couple circles and it's boom blended, which is really nice. And the shimmers in here are very, very beautiful. Again, this peony shade, the pinky one in here, is a little bit more of like that wet sheen wearable kind of look to it. But the other shimmers that we used are like that really like glittery, like wet metallic that is super, super pretty. I just feel like this palette is a breath of fresh air for a fall palette, because so many fall palettes are just like warm tone orangey browns and chocolatey colors, and I don't know, I've just seen them all before, so I'm just kind of over them at this point. Whereas with this one, you get some warmth in here that just kind of gives like that fall vibe to it, but you also get some unique colors mixed in, like this aubergine and like this rosy mauvey pink. I don't know, I just think this color story is just a little bit different and a little bit spicier. Like, I feel like you can actually do a lot of different kinds of looks with this one, because you get a mix of cool tones as well as warm tones. As for the blush in here, I think it has a really nice formula. Keep in mind though, it is really pigmented, so you'll want to be a little bit careful with it. You know, just do one tab, don't like fully push your brush into it, otherwise you might have a lot of pigment on your cheek. But again, like the formula of it is just very buttery, it blended out really nice, and also it is 100% matte. There is absolutely no shimmer to it. It kind of reminds me of this palette right here with the blush formula. This is the Italian Summer Face Palette. They launched this a couple of months ago. But if you like this blush formula in here, you will absolutely love the one in the palette. But yeah, so in the comments down below, let me know what you think about this look, and also let me know if you're going to be picking up this palette or not. But before you go though, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and also give this video a like. And if you'd like to check me out over on Instagram or TikTok, it's at Breyonna as well. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!